Good evening. Good evening. So tonight we're having a movie discussion. The movie community, the community on Patreon, they voted and they decided that American Skin, uh, American Skin was the movie that we had two movies that were voted as the winning movies for for September. We're just getting around to discussing the second movie in October, but the other movie was Woman in the Window, and we've already discussed that one. So tonight we're discussing American Skin. So for those who may not have seen this movie, um, I will give you, a little bit of a synopsis on, you know, what this movie is and, what it's about. So basically, it's about, yeah, Nate Parker was awesome in this, and overall, this was a great movie. Um, and I went into it. When I watch movies, I might read a synopsis. Hey, mom, I might read a synopsis. I might not. I didn't really read much about this movie because I just wanted to experience it. So it's the story about the main character named Lincoln Jeffries. Yeah, Jefferson. I'm sorry. So Lincoln Jefferson, and Lincoln Jefferson, he's a military vet. Hey, KJ, he's a military vet. He is a family man. He's a divorced gentleman. He and his wife were no longer together. Due to when he came back from serving, he did two tours in Iraq, and when he came back, coming back home from being in the service can be tough because American society doesn't really integrate you back into society in the way that it should. So it put a strain on the marriage, and in the end, the marriage didn't work out. So he had a son. His son was named KJ. That's his nickname, but his name was Kajani Jefferson as well, but he was short for KJ. So it's basically the story of a father that was in the car with his son, got pulled over by the cops. The encounter resulted in his son being unalived by one of the cops, and how the cops ended up not being charged with anything, and how the father just was distraught and, you know, angry that there wasn't justice for the fact that his son was killed. He didn't feel like anybody really understood the pain that he felt. And um, so one of the things that I noticed in the very beginning, because I'm looking at some of my notes, what I felt like this movie did really well was the tension that it shows you that black people possess when stopped by the police. So it really did showcase what that tension is like, where you're at a moment where you're close to life and death in that interaction with that police officer. And your ability to make it out of that interaction alive all goes back to it's a lot of factors, but a lot of them go along with whether or not how scared the cop is. Because the more afraid that police officer is, the less likely you are to make it out of that interaction unharmed. And in that movie, they kind of lean into that because the officer admits that he was scared, like most police officers. I think a lot of police officers that end up using excessive force do so because they are scared. And frankly, when you do things, when you're afraid, you make a lot of irrational decisions a lot of times. And police officers get to make, I get it that they work in the type of job, but frankly, you're making life and death decisions every day. I understand that. But at the same time, the price that the public has to pay for mistakes that happen is a very high cost. Hey, Mrs. Thompson, good evening. And good evening to everybody. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate you being here. All I ask is that you do two things. While you're here, tapping is clapping. So if you could tap that like button for me, and if you could tap that copy link button for me, I appreciate it. It counts as a share. Thank you so much. Hey, dude. Good evening. So, um, so I like that they approached this movie as an assignment that a university student has, and they are wanting to do a documentary on this family after this interaction with the police resulted in the death of their child. And it's innocent enough. And I'm thinking, okay, we're just gonna do this run of the mill thing like a the real documentary kind of thing, and they're gonna talk with the family and the different people. That's what I thought it was gonna be about. I thought it was gonna be about your standard issue approach to injustice when it comes to the police. But actually, it wasn't that. It was a lot deeper than that. And I appreciated the approach that they took. So, in short, what happened, well, before we get to what happened to his son, it was obvious that it was going to happen. And I say it was obvious that it was going to happen for a couple reasons. One reason, because his child was going to white schools. And in those schools, his kid was learning to buck back against authority when he felt it was an injustice. Well, the problem with that is, and I wrote that here. I said, as a Black American, that can get you unalived. You know, ain't nobody in here talking about no Beyonce. Bye, Nikki Stan. Y'all Nikki Stans be wildin'. I made that video a couple of days ago. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I didn't really care that much. I was just talking about it. Calm down. Calm down. But let's get back to the movie. So I felt like a lot of what he was learning in those schools about bucking back against authority was one of the reasons why KJ had that camera out and was so intent on recording the interaction that his father and he were having with the police. And that, frankly, just helped to escalate the situation even more. I don't blame KJ for what happened to him. Certainly not that. I still blame the police officer because ultimately the police officer was escalating the situation. He wasn't trying to de escalate the situation, he was escalating it. When he pulled out his pew pew, it escalated it. You know what I mean? The language that was being used, how they were talking to them, you know, and uh, uh, no matter what Link or KJ did in that car, it wasn't going to matter. It was going to be escalated because those officers were intent on being afraid of their interaction with Black men in that neighborhood that time of the night, right? Um, Now, at some point, Link is suffering and dealing with all this stuff. And so Link decides to come up with this plan with his friends, and they decide to take over the precinct and have a trial, have a mock trial inside of the police precinct with the officer that unalived his son. You said, I like that they brought that point out because in putting our kids in better schools. Yep, exactly. I like that too, Alicia. Because while putting his son in different schools was a blessing and a curse, right? Because he had access to a better environment, but that environment also taught him things that put his life at more at risk. Because had he been going to schools in a much different neighborhood, in a Black neighborhood, he wouldn't have had that type of interaction with the police. He wouldn't have been just having no camera out arbitrarily trying to tape the cops in an interaction like that. No fucking way. Mm-mm. Not even happening. Even if you are going to have a camera out, you're going to sit it on the dash. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to keep it in your hand because you understand that having things in your hands and being Black in your interaction with the police can lead to bad things. The bread turned out wonderful in DC. I'm going to put a video up of it after this live. Had a great time with that bread maker. That bread maker worked perfectly. Wonderful experience. But I liked the conversation that was had for the mock trial. That was a great conversation. And you got to see all perspectives. The police officers saying, "Listen, we make the decisions we make based on statistics. Look how many Black people kill Black people." Hey, Trell, good evening. But then the jury, some of the jury members made a great point. Well, how about how many white people kill white people? Do you know those stats? You know what I mean? If we're going to pull stats and stats determine how you interact with the public when you're out and about, then shouldn't you know the stats on everybody that you're interacting with, not just blacks? You know, that was a great conversation because only looking at what black people do is going to skew how you see us. I thought that was a great conversation. It was a great conversation. This movie, I was like, oh my God, I love that they're having this conversation. And the guy who unalived his son, he was still of the mindset, like for most of the movie, this mindset of like, hey, Officer, what was it, Officer Randall? He was still of the mindset like that was what I was trained to do, which I love that they put that in the script. As a police officer, he talked about what he was trained to do. I'm trained to go home. Hear that? Not serve and protect. I am trained to go home. That means that by any means necessary, I'm going to get my ass home. And if that means that you won't make it home, oh well, because I'm trained to get home. I was like, whoa, okay, okay. Because it was like a discussion on policing, race, gender, class. It was like a discussion on a multitude of things. It reminded me of going to a play. It reminded me of a play. I really enjoyed it. Like a play that just has this one area and all the characters are there together. Everybody has their little monologues, has their moments. I really liked it. To me, it was like being at the theater. I enjoyed it. The movie is American Skin. That it was a really good movie. Really good movie. I just appreciated all sides of the discussion. You know what I mean? I appreciated the that he chose that Link chose the inmates, the prisoners to be the jury. And at first the police, I love how the policeman said, "This is not fair. This is not a jury of my peers." And Nate Parker said, "Well, neither I don't have a jury of my peers either most of the time." Like, fuck you mean? You ain't special. That's what it's like. That's what it feels like to go to trial. And everybody that's looking at you and judging your life and judging what the final decision is going to be for you and the choices that you made, none of them are your peers. I said, oh, this is brilliant. Good evening, Wendy. Yeah, this is a really excellent movie. I hadn't heard of this movie either. Yes, it is a really good movie, Adore. I suggest everybody see this movie because it was like I said, because it reminded me of a play because it was showing all of these dimensions. Everybody sharing their perspective. I liked that. So he was like, everybody in here can speak. Everybody. I loved how they said to the cops said, we stopped him because he appeared to be going at an accelerated speed. I caught that. So he wasn't speeding. He wasn't speeding because if he was speeding, you would have said he was speeding. You said you saw him going at an accelerated speed, yet you weren't recording or clocking what the speed was at all. So you don't know if he was going at a speed that was considered speeding or too much. Just looked like to me, y'all saw two black guys in that neighborhood, just like the cop finally admitted to. I saw two black men in that neighborhood at that time of the night, and I just figured it was something bad. That's what it was. Adore it. This movie is awesome. It's awesome. It's awesome. Because that's exactly what it was. They saw two black men in a car in a neighborhood that they didn't think that they should have been in that time of night. So we got to stop them and find out why they're here. The name is American Skin. It was a great movie. Because to me, it was an exercise in showing somebody, like Link says at the end. I just wanted you to feel what I felt for the past year. I just want you to feel that. When it was all said and done, the cop finally got it. The one who actually did it, it clicked. He was like, oh shit, he finally felt it. You're in front of a jury of people. None of them look like you. None of them come from your background. So you don't have a jury of your peers. Everybody got an opinion, making up things or saying whatever they want to say about who you are as a person and this, that, and the other. And then once the punishment is handed down, you don't have no say in what happens to you. You just got to take it. And the fear that that man had on his face when he had to talk to his family, when he thought, that's it for me. It changed his perspective. It was like, okay, now I see where you're coming from. Yeah, he had no choice but to see it because he Link put him in that situation. You must see it. You have a choice. Oh man, I love when the Hispanic officer went in on the other officer. I mean, when the Hispanic inmate went in on the Hispanic officer. Oh, I loved that. That was good. Called him out. Called him out. But I love the discussion that one of the inmates said. Listen, we don't care what the color of the police officer is. Quiet is kept. If they're black, I'm liable to get got twice as fast. It was essentially what he was saying. He's like, you think it make a difference that the police officer would be black? Get out of here. It don't make no difference. It's the culture of how you're trained, how you're taught to think, how you're taught to police your community. If you police the community like the community is the enemy, well, guess what? You're going to already come with a hypersensitive type of awareness, some fear in your heart. You already going to be scared at every corner because you already think that you're always in the midst of your enemy. That's not community policing. So it was a great exercise in showing that's what happens when you don't do community policing. Because that's what that was. That was not community policing. That was treating people in the community like they're criminals. And then being surprised that you end up having issues like what happened. And that kid was a good kid. He just knew too much. And that's the truth. KJ knew too much. He knew too much about what the law was. Yeah, we know the law too. American Skin. That's the name of the movie. Hey, Black Sheep. Hey, Andrea. Great movie. But KJ knew too much because KJ knew so much that he did things that put his life at risk. When ultimately KJ should have made hold on, I'm getting some feedback. I'm not sure why. I'm trying to stop the feedback train. Okay, there it is. Hey, Moni, good evening. Good evening. So yeah, and even after, let me tell you, I love the ending because the ending had me, first of all, I cried when the officer walked up, the officer that unalived his kid walked up to him at the end and letting him know, like, I understand now, this, that, and you could tell he genuinely understood. It wasn't he was genuinely changed. It wasn't some bullshit about because I know I'm good now and you're not going to harm me, I'm going to just kiss your ass till we get out of here. It actually wasn't that. It was this place of respect and understanding this man's pain and understanding why this man couldn't just go on with his life like nothing ever happened. He couldn't do that. You know? You know why I like the end, dude? Because the end was more realistic to me. The end was realistic, actually. I was like, no fucking way this guy's going to be able to walk out here with his hands up after doing all of that in this police station. They ain't going to allow it. Get the fuck out of here. Fuck out of here. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. If for nothing else to keep him silent, they were not going to let him, you know, it was like, whoa, it gets you quick. It gets you quick. It really does. But I wasn't surprised. I was like, of course not. Of course not. It's exactly what I expected. Um, for everything. It's just what I expected. You know, and no problem, Morris. Okay, you say keep doing your thing. Turn up. All right. But it was a great movie. I'm not going to say it was a good movie, a great movie. But can I tell y'all, when I cried at that officer talking with him at the end, I was mad with y'all. I was like, didn't I told these people I don't like this, these movies that make you get all turned up emotionally. I hate this shit. But then, then when the ending came, I was like, oh shit. Okay, I snapped out of that real fast. And it was like, okay, well, I've moved on from that. Not crying about that anymore. Because now I'm just shocked about everything else, but at the same time, not surprised. But the casting for this movie was outstanding. The casting was outstanding. Outstanding. Nate Parker, oh my goodness. This was just a great movie. It was a great movie. Yep, he was unarmed. He was unarmed. But what it shows is the system doesn't matter. Because if the system has already decided that it should be afraid of you, it's going to do anything to stop you. See? This is why being just existing can be dangerous. Because in your existence, if somebody already has concocted in their mind that they should be afraid of you, then it really doesn't matter what you do. What it really comes down to is what decisions they choose to make. That's what it was for me with this movie. I enjoyed it. It was, yeah, God's Child. It was a great movie. And Trail, Nate, he was fabulous. I liked everybody in this movie. It was just a great cast. I was surprised when I saw Amari Hardwick because I didn't know he was in this movie. I had no idea. I had no idea. It was like, whoa. But this movie, it surprised me in a lot of ways. And I would say the thing that I liked the best, again, was the discussions. Everybody having something to bring to the table, to talk about an experience, to ask a question. You know, nothing was taboo as far as a discussion in that room that day. And I guarantee that every person in that room, every character in that room, their life was forever changed because of that discussion. Because in the beginning, when the jury voted on like who was gonna, who really, what his fate was gonna be, and they were kind of deadlocked. Once the discussion started happening, perspectives changed. Yep, it showed all perspectives, Alicia. I appreciate it. Was very well rounded. So if you were sitting at home watching this movie, or if you were wherever you were watching this movie, and you had questions about certain things, the characters were asking those questions. The characters were making those statements. Everybody had something to bring to the table. So for that alone, I loved it. I love that for Link, because I was thinking the whole time it was all about Link getting his revenge on the cop to unalive the cop. But it was never about that. It was always about teaching a lesson, changing perspectives, getting them to see black people different, getting them to see the community different that they police. It was like a long-term change he was looking to make. Because no change would have been made by him hurting police officers. You know what I mean? No change would have been made. It just would have been more violence in the community had that been what That would have been the result had that been his goal. Had that been Link's goal, that's exactly what would have happened. The community would have been attacked from the very group that's supposed to protect the community. So I think Link's plan made more sense. Now I felt for them college kids because they did not expect to be making a documentary about that. That wasn't there. He didn't expect his project, his school project, to turn into that. But I bet you he got an A. Okay, I bet you he got an A. You said even the cop and the inmate having words. Yep, I liked that interaction because the inmate told that cop that he jumped on. He said, "Listen, you lied on me. You put some trumped up charges on me." And the cop admitted it. The cop said, "If you talk sassy to me, you get a beat down." You see? So that cop was a shiesty cop. You can't police the community that way and expect the community to trust you. They're not going to. The community is not going to trust you if that's what you call policing. And I was just checking because I wanted to check and see. This movie is not based on a true story, not a single true story, but they say, but rather is a collection of over 164 true incidents of police brutality, injustice, and racial tension in the United States. So it was something. It was a lot to handle. I enjoyed this movie a lot. Yeah, they never knew if they were speeding. Never knew if they were speeding. But the cop admitted we weren't recording speed limits, so we didn't know. He said it looked like he was going at excessive speed. Even the cop doesn't say he was speeding because he can't. He wasn't measuring it with anything. But his eyes, no, it don't work like that. It don't work because if he was white, if it was two white people in that car, they wouldn't have stopped it. They wouldn't have stopped it. Hey, Dad, they would not have stopped it. Yeah, Spike Lee did get it. This was a good movie. I think Spike Lee did he produce it? Yeah, because it was direct. Yeah, Spike Lee produced it. It was directed by Nate Parker. Written, some writing was also done. Hold on, I'm trying to look to see all the details so I can tell you exactly who did what. Yeah, it was written and directed by Nate Parker. This is a great movie. Yes, you need to see this movie. This is a great discussion. I would say every American needs to see this movie. This movie was great. This movie was great. Y'all knocked it out of the park again, suggesting American Skin. Because I had never seen this movie, had never heard of this movie. Because so many movies come out and I had never heard of it. And Quiet as Kept, I'm not sure if I would have watched it because it would have pissed me off. I would have been like, this movie's gonna piss me off. And there were moments in the movie where I got loud. I was like, "Fuck you, mean?" Like when he said, I'm trained to go home." I was like, "The fuck?" But I love the reality of it. Cops are trained to go home. They're not trained to make sure you go home. That's something you need to be mindful of in your interaction with the police, especially specifically if you're black. If you're black or brown, be mindful. Yeah, everybody in America needs to see this damn movie. This movie was outstanding. And I'm mad because uh it had a world premiere in September 2019 at a film festival, and then it was released in the United States in 2021. I had never heard of it. Yeah, oh, I love me some Tubi. I've been watching Tubi stuff off of Tubi long before it became like a mainstream thing for people to be on Tubi. Yeah, I've been liking Tubi since way back. I've been liking Tubi since they didn't really have much of anything. Like Bob Ross, a couple of other old school things, Andy Griffith. They really didn't have a whole lot in the beginning. So you had to watch really old school things, you know, The Wizard of Oz, shit like that. Those are the things you had to watch. You said you would have skipped if not for our group. I agree. This is not a movie I would have picked on my own to watch it because I would have felt like, you know what? If I watch that fucking movie, it's gonna leave me in a badass mood. That was my thought. So I better not watch this movie because if I watch this movie, it's gonna leave me in a stank ass mood. I guarantee it. That was one of the reasons why I didn't want to watch it. But I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did. This was a great movie. It was worth every watch. Yep, it was worth every watch. Now, by tomorrow, I'll put up a brand new post so folks can put in their suggestions for October. Man, because the last couple of months, think about it. We have watched Sinners, Run, Woman in the Window, American Skin. All those movies have been awesome. Every single one of them. Right. I knew Nate Parker. Okay, he did Birth of the Nation, the Birth of the of Nation too, of the Nation as well. So okay, got it. Yeah, certain. Honestly, when I watch movies, I'll watch certain things, but I have to be ready to get my emotional mindset to watch certain things because frankly, I look at movies as an escape, and I don't want to watch movies that leave me emotionally distraught. I'm like, I can't do it. It becomes too much, you know. I'm like, ugh. But this movie was worth every moment of watching it. I'm going to watch this movie again. This movie is a great movie. Again, y'all knocking it out of the park with all of the suggestions. So when I put up, yep, I know, hey, dude, I've never watched The Green Mile. Nope. I read the book. I'm not watching that shit. What? Mm-mm. Negative. I'm not watching that. I told you there's certain things I just will not watch. I'm like, no. Please, please don't turn off the lights. I hate being in the dark. Negative. I'm good. I'm not watching that. I'm not watching that. So I don't watch it. That is not a movie that I watch. Even if it's on cable, I'm going to flip the channel so quickly. Like, I'm not watching that. Mm-mm. Nope. Not watching that. Nah. I told y'all. Now, this one was good. I'm telling you, now, if that emotional scene would have went on any longer, or that entire movie would have been like that, I would have been very pissed afterwards. I'm not even sure I would have been able to talk about it today. I'd have been like, I can't talk about it today. That shit got me too emotionally distraught. This didn't have me that. At the end of this movie, I felt like this was a damn good movie. I love the discussion, and I hope everybody else watches this damn movie all across America so you can get a better understanding of policing and all of the sensitivities involved with the dynamic of community, the dynamic of being black in America and interacting with police officers and never really knowing if you're going to make it out of that situation safe because it really all depends on the officer and what he or she is feeling that day at that moment. That's really what it comes down to. Like I told you before, it really ain't even about the decisions that you make, more so than it's about the decisions that are made by the police officer. hmm and it doesn't matter what color the police officer is. It's that part is really irrelevant. A film I recommend is Brother, directed by Clement Virgo. Man, Dad, you gotta come in and make that suggestion. I'm gonna put up the movie post between either today and tomorrow on my Patreon. The link is in my profile. Suggested. Everything that's suggested, I put it up as a part of the movie poll. And the group votes on it. And it just so happened in September we had a two-way tie. So we watched there are two movies that we ended up having to watch, which was A Woman in the Window and American Skin was the other movie. But these discussions are great because listen, I told you I love movies and I've watched tons of movies. So I appreciate all of these suggestions because a lot of these things I haven't seen. Because I tend to hang out in that horror, sci-fi, thriller genre. Those are the genres I like to play around in. I do actions too, but I like to play around in those genres mostly. And so because of that, it's a lot of other things I don't see. And that's a lot of the things that you guys have been suggesting. All of the movies on the list for September I had never seen that we voted on. I had never seen. So I plan to see the other movies that didn't win as well. I plan to see those as well. But this movie, outstanding. I give this, if it was 5 stars, 5 out of 5. Yeah, I'm not doing no tearjerkers. Like if y'all vote Beaches or some shit like that, I've never watched Beaches, never will, because I know what it's about. I always used to see my aunties and my cousins cry over that shit. I'm not watching that shit. So no. It's just certain things I'm just not gonna watch. I told y'all Radio, hated it. I saw Radio one time, and I said that was one time too many. I'm never watching this again. This shit is emotionally draining. Emotionally draining. I'm not watching that again. Never watched it again. If I see it on the TV, oh, instantly turn. Like I'm not watching that shit. No, nothing. Nope. I saw Antoine Fisher once. One time too many. Hold on, I don't know where I'm getting this feedback from. Yeah, one time too many with Antoine Fisher as well. I told you I don't really like stuff like that. I don't really like movies like that. Mississippi Burning. I've seen it, but it's not one of those movies that I'm gonna watch over and over and over again. Oh fuck no. It's too emotionally hardcore for me. So I don't spend any time sitting with that. Uh-uh. Not any time sitting with that. So I would say if you have not seen American Skin, watch this movie. This movie was outstanding. It's a great movie to make you think about things and to make you look at things and really have discussion. So I highly suggest watching this movie. You know, so I thank you all for coming through tonight for this discussion because another great movie selection. Yeah, the ones I mentioned, yeah, one time viewing movies. That Antoine Fisher and all that other stuff, yeah. It's no way I can watch that every time. I've never looked at Precious. Never. Why the fuck would I look at Precious? I live in Maryland. I can go to Baltimore and see Precious. The fuck I look like watching that shit. Like what? Oh, I got about a half loaf of bread. Yep, American Skin was what we watched. Yeah, I never watched Precious, and I never will. I'm not watching that shit. Nope. It's certain things I'm just not gonna watch, and Precious is one of them. I'm good on that. I don't want to see nothing like that for me to be all emotionally distraught. I won't watch it in theaters or at home. I don't care. I ain't never watched it. Never will. A Time to Kill? No. Can't watch that either. No. It's just certain things I can't watch. I just can't watch because if it's going if it's gonna get certain feelings out of me, I have no desire to see it because it's a trigger. So I'll be like, no, I'm good. I don't want to see that. That's why I don't watch it. But I thank you all for joining me this evening. Look, I still have not taken out a meat for Sunday. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna cook on Sunday. I gotta go out tomorrow and get like either some cabbage or some greens or something. But I'm gonna go out and get something tomorrow morning early, something I can find that's cheap that I can make to go. I'm gonna make some rice because I got plenty of rice, and I just gotta get a vegetable, and that's what I'm gonna do in the morning. First thing in the morning, I'm gonna get up early. Yeah. Yeah, it has been a fun day today. And thank you to anybody who was on with me this earlier today when we baked bread, because it took a couple hours. But it was worth it. That bread maker does work. And I'll be on next Saturday making bread again. I'll figure out what my recipe's gonna be and let y'all know before we hit the end of the week, okay? So hey Zarvis, good evening. I'm actually wrapping up, handsome. Yeah, I'm wrapping up for the evening. So cause look, I gotta go ahead and take some meat out for fucking Sunday. I still haven't done it yet. I gotta go take some meat out. If my mama was alive, she would whoop my ass. The bread came out wonderful, Oscar. I'm gonna put up a video about it this evening. A video from my live. Yeah, just call me. Sorry about missing the live. Yeah, I started at 7. So I'll make sure to put this up on YouTube as well. I'm missing a couple of days of lives on YouTube. So I'll make sure to get those up there on YouTube. I thank you all for joining me so much. I appreciate you being here. I really do. I love you guys. It's been a wonderful and fabulous evening. Look, I'm tired today because I done did so much today. Look, I made bread. Look, I talk like I did all that kneading and it was the machine. I don't care. I don't care. But just I got laundry to do, cleaning to do. Hey, conservative ladies, I actually have to be domestic. What a concept. But anyway, I love you guys. I want you to have a beautiful and wonderful evening, okay? And don't forget, don't let nobody live rent free in your head, y'all. Don't feed the trolls, and you can accomplish anything you put your mind to as long as you stay consistent. Peace, everybody. Have a beautiful Saturday, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.